deceit and human destruction. Former TMers have filed lawsuits asking millions of dollars in damages because of the trauma they suffered through transcendental meditation. Kropinski, who won such a lawsuit, relates that people experienced violent shaking, hallucinations, murderous impulses, and suicidal thoughts, quote, as a result of the TM practice, end of quote. At teacher training sessions, distraught TMers would complain of flying into uncontrollable rages in the midst of meditation, smashing furniture, assaulting their roommates, and trying to commit suicide. Some have managed to kill themselves, and others have gone insane. Craig Pruitt, an atheist at the time, began to practice the TM style of yoga because he had been promised that it would help him get his life together without having to deal with a personal God. After becoming heavily involved in this branch of yoga, however, he began to have serious concerns. It was a shock to him to learn at last that he was involved in something spiritual, the last thing he wanted. As he said in a personal interview, quote, "Several hundred of us from around the world studied for a month with Maharishi in Europe to become teachers of TM. We meditated 8 or 10 times a day. It was called rounding, and the effect of so much involvement in yoga was at times very frightening. Some would see grotesque spirit beings sitting next to them when they meditated. Some were attacked by the spirits. It was all very real, not imaginary in the least. Others would find themselves suddenly overcome with blind rage, even with the urge to murder someone. One girl was locked in a room because her behavior had become uncontrollable. The leaders ignored rather than cared for these people as though the problem would cure itself. Maharishi explained that bad karma was being worked out from past lives, a necessary part of our journey into higher consciousness. I finally achieved unity consciousness, which made me the envy of others. However, the initial euphoric feeling that I had arrived at one of the ultimate states soon gave way to panic. I had lost the ability to decide what was real and what wasn't. I seemed to be the whole universe. There were no categories, no difference between myself or a tree or the sky or another person. I felt that I was losing my mind. Maharishi told me to stop meditating. Gradually, I returned to a semblance of normality, but I suffered from frequent lapses into unity consciousness, much like a flashback from LSD. After coming back to the United States, I worked at Maharishi's International University. My roommate there committed suicide. I was committed to a mental institution, end of quote. Another former TM instructor, R.D. Scott, tells of numerous spirit manifestations among meditators. These included, quote, visions of floating green eyes, creatures of light floating above the puja table, that is, the TM initiation ceremony altar, end of quote. Ghoulish creatures materialized periodically to stare with terrifying expressions at participants. Refuting the claim that these experiences were merely hallucinations, Scott points out that often more than one person saw, quote, the same procession of spirit creatures simultaneously and without any advance warning, end of quote. Such possibilities are not mentioned in the ads and brochures promoting the alleged benefits of TM and other forms of yoga.